The man went to the hospital to have his balls removed, only to realize they took the wrong ones. The cancer had already spread all over his body. But when she found out, she wasn't mad at all. Instead, she clutched the protective charm her wife left her and burst out laughing. Because the man felt that only a death like this, without leaving any descendants, could pacify his wife's spirit. But when he opened his eyes again, what he saw was the window in his hometown with a dusty double happiness character pasted on it. Then he quickly searched inside and outside the house, and saw Zhou Yao, completely naked, curled up on the mud bed. At that moment, her big eyes were full of lifelessness. Her originally fair and flawless body was covered in crisscrossing bruises. And seeing again the woman he had longed for most of his life, he immediately became emotional. He stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. There was too much guilt and longing to speak, but at this moment, it all got stuck in his throat. Then he started crying like a hurt child. In his past life, he had tricked Zhou Yao into falling into the reservoir, causing the whole village to see her with her clothes disheveled. In the state you rescued her. To save her reputation, she was forced to marry him. But ever since Zhou Yao entered his home, she never had a single good day. Amidst his endless domestic violence, she jumped into the reservoir with their child, committing suicide. Not until her brother fished the bodies of mother and daughter from the river did he finally wake up. After that, though he rode the wave of the times, amassing wealth he couldn't spend in 10 lifetimes, the woman who taught him to grow with her life was already gone. Just as he was immersed in the joy of rebirth, suddenly, a sharp, miserable scream came. "Ah, get away, don't touch me." At that moment, seeing Zhou Yao trembling all over, he remembered that this time Zhou Yao had borrowed money from her family to buy rice cereal for the child, but he had snatched it away and used it to buy liquor. And after getting drunk, he came home and brutally tormented her in bed. Thinking of this, he raised his hand and slapped himself hard a dozen times. Soon, blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Zhou Yao watched his actions quietly and couldn't help a bitter, mocking smile. She couldn't remember how many times this had happened, because every time after he sobered up, he would kneel and beg for forgiveness, but within 2 days, your fists would land on Zhou Yao's body again. He could bear the humiliation of your torment in bed, but he couldn't stand the baby having nothing to eat. The baby's weak cries brought a glimmer of life into Zhou Yao's beautiful phoenix eyes. She hastily threw on her clothes, picked up her daughter, but because Zhou Yao had been malnourished for a long time, the little one who couldn't get any milk started wailing again. And your daughter's crying woke you up. You got out of bed immediately, picked up the clothes from the floor. "Honey, wait for me. I'll go get some food for our girl right now." Saying that, you ran on your long legs toward the village store. Old Huang at the store saw you. Grinning with his yellow teeth, he asked, "What kind of booze this time?" "Uncle Huang, can I get a bag of rice cereal on credit?" "Money. I'll pay you tomorrow." Old Huang heard. "You want credit again?" He looked at the red swollen handprint on your face. He didn't say a word. He took a bag of rice cereal from the shelf for you. You thanked him gratefully and hurried back home. When you arrived at the house and saw your wife still looking the same as when you left, your heart ached again uncontrollably. "Honey, I bought the rice cereal. I'm warning you, don't you dare sell my daughter. Otherwise, I curse you. May the Zhao family have no descendants." Seeing this scene, you froze there, vaguely remembering that this had happened before. Originally, you had planned to sell your daughter to a couple in town to get money for booze. What kind of despicable things had you done? No wonder you died of testicular cancer in your past life. You deserved it. So you placed the rice cereal in your hands on the shabby little bed. "I swear I will never sell our little girl. Tomorrow I'll go to town and find work." After saying that, you turned and walked out. Outside, you slapped yourself hard a few more times. If you remembered correctly, Zhou Yao was the one who jumped into the reservoir with their daughter that month. Just thinking about it makes you tremble all over. Seeing that it was getting late, and the house was out of food, 20 minutes later, you arrived at the foot of the hill behind the house. You pulled out the elastic waistband from your shorts and made a slingshot. Snap, you shot a pebble. A turtle dove flapped its wings and flew up. In your past life, after you made it big, you fell in love with shooting. That sport. You also messed around with a slingshot for a while. After crouching in the grass for half a day, you finally managed to net a pheasant. You also shot a few turtle doves with the slingshot. The turtle doves were small. All 4 together barely weighed a couple of pounds. But that pheasant was a fat 5 pounds. You tied all of them up with vines, hung them on a tree branch, and were about to carry them home on a pole, when you suddenly realized something was missing from your back. You broke out in a cold sweat of pure terror. This is like meeting a ghost. Then you noticed the peace charm hanging on your chest, flash with light. This was something your wife had worn close to her skin in the past life. Copper, not jade, and not plastic. She only took it off when she jumped into the river to kill herself, leaving it by the edge of the reservoir. When you looked closer, the light from the charm was gone. so you couldn't help reaching out to touch it. The next second you entered a space. If you're just going by size, it wasn't even as big as your hospital room. After testing it a few times, you understood. Gripping the charm lets you go in, and thinking about getting out lets you get out. With this golden ticket, you could build yourself up again in this life. On the way home, a lot of households already had electricity, but your own place still used a kerosene lamp. The hardest years of the famine were over. Couldn't even count on having a next meal. You took the stuff straight into the kitchen. After it got completely dark, you carried a big bowl of dove soup into the main room. Yao Yao, time to eat. I made dove soup to help with your milk. Called out 3 times in a row. Only then did Zhou Yao slowly come out of the inner room. When she saw the big bowl of dove soup on the table, she didn't rush over, just stood there, her eyes full of hatred. Right then, looking at your own wife's patched-up clothes, your heart ached again. In this era of scarcity, Zhou Yao's beauty stood out even more. But you were just a bastard. Got her but never treasured her. Now seeing her so guarded, even though you longed to sit and eat with her, you knew if you stayed she wouldn't touch a bite. I'll eat in the kitchen. With that, you turned and walked out. Zhou Yao stood frozen, staring at that big bowl full of dove meat soup. A sense of unreality washed over her. Am I dreaming? Or is this my last meal? Back then, whenever there was any food in the house, you made sure you ate your fill first, and all she got was some dishwater. So now, even though she was starving, Zhou Yao didn't dare take a bite, only after you stepped outside, and she saw you crouching by the window drinking soup, with a big wild pheasant hanging by the kitchen door. She figured you must have gone hunting in the mountains. Only then did Zhou Yao turn and go back to the main room, picked up the bowl and started eating. After the meal, under your wife's wary gaze, you took over washing the dishes and chopsticks. You used to be a lazy bum. This was probably the first real chore you'd ever done in this house. After finishing that, thinking about the terrible thing you did during the day, you went and heated up a pot of water, carried it into the room and gently used this water to wipe yourself down. With that, you set down the basin. He turned and hurried away. He sat by the door for a long time. Only then did the faint sound of running water come from inside the house, and you looked up at the stars, figuring you had to find a way to make money tomorrow. You needed to improve the situation at home as soon as possible. It was already autumn, winter. Temperatures would drop to -20, freezing water on contact. Your wife and kid needed winter coats. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive the winter. When the water stopped, you got up and went inside. Seeing you suddenly appear, Zhou Yao was so scared she kept backing away sideways. Don't come near me. Seeing that, you cursed yourself for being such a beast before, and you knew her guard wouldn't come down anytime soon. So you spoke to her gently. I'm just coming in to get some water and leave. With that, you picked up the basin of water from the floor and walked back out. Zhou Yao ignored you. As soon as you stepped out, she quickly got dressed. In the yard, you gave yourself a quick wash with the hot water your wife had used. You'd been lying in the grass for a while to catch those turtle doves. After washing, you sat down on the doorstep. You thought back to your past life. There was a time when a few out-of-towners kept wanting to go into the mountains to gather things. They were afraid of getting lost, so they found you, who had nothing better to do, to guide them. Back then, you just figured those city folks had too much time on their hands. But after watching them work, you learned how to spot those wild ginseng plants. Now you could go dig them up and sell them. That thought perked you up. You tied together a torch, got together some half-assed tools, and called into the house. Tian Tian, lock the door. I'm heading out for a bit. You were gone all night. You didn't get home until 4 in the morning. Honestly, you got lucky. Coming down the mountain, you stumbled across a den, a civet cat's nest with a few blind kits you pulled out. Back home, you cleaned them up quickly, kept one in the kitchen and left the rest, after leaving one in the kitchen. So he carried 2 baskets to town. On odd-numbered days, urgent matters happened in town. He found a crowded spot, took the civet cat meat and skins out of the baskets. Young man, nice mountain goods. He originally thought if he couldn't sell them, he'd take them home and stew them all in one pot. Give some to eldest brother, second brother, and third sister. Didn't expect that just after setting up, someone asked about the price of civet cat meat. The old man and old woman saw him, a young man, sunburned dark, obviously a mountain dweller. Plus the price was reasonable, they immediately asked for 2. In this era, you needed meat coupons to buy meat, so only such mountain goods could be bought, to bring back and give the little grandson a treat. Before leaving, the old lady grabbed the old man's clothes, signaling him, and then skinned all the civet cats. The skins, they said, were to make gloves for the little grandson at home. So in less than 2 hours, all the civet cats were sold. Then he brought the big haul he collected yesterday to the old established pharmacy in town. When he took out the item, the old man with thick glasses stared wide-eyed, carefully took the big haul, examined it closely, then held up a hand to show a price. Little brother, this price. He saw the price offered, frowned slightly. This guy thinks he's a hillbilly from the mountains, so he reached out to take his stuff back. Seeing this, the old man reached out and held him back, then stroked his goatee and said soothingly, "Hey, little brother, not happy with the price? We can negotiate. 6 big bills can't go higher." Although this big haul was accidentally stepped on and broken by himself, his value is far more than this price. But he needed the money urgently. His wife and child were still hungry at home. After thinking for a moment, he decided to sell, then went to buy meat and flour. Went to 2 supply cooperatives before finding the rare milk powder of this era. Just before going back, thinking of his wife's worn-out clothes with patches from yesterday, then walked into the only small state-owned department store in town. On the way back, you took a detour to find an old hunter in his 70s. You gave him a bunch of food, and only then did you trade for the hunter's precious shotgun, which he valued more than anything. In those days, you needed ration tickets for meat. To achieve meat-eating freedom, you still had to do it yourself. When you were almost home, you noticed Zhou Yao working in the fields with the child on her back. And when your older brother Zhao Jinxing saw you walking over, he was instantly furious. "Where the hell have you been, making your wife work the fields alone?" Looking at your brother in front of you, your nose stung with emotion. "I went to town to work, and bought some meat and flour on the way back. Come over tonight with your wife and kid for dinner." Hearing this, your brother looked you up and down with suspicion, noticing the mud spots on your pant legs, then looked at the basket packed full. Your sister-in-law just steamed a batch of cornmeal buns at noon. "Have your wife take a few back later. We won't come over to eat then. From now on, treat your wife well." So you didn't say anything more. You nodded, then carried your things back home. If you wanted to make your wife happy, you had to win her over through her stomach first, so you started bustling around in the kitchen. When it was almost dark, Zhou Yao came home carrying a few cornmeal buns. But as soon as she entered the yard, she smelled the aroma of meat from the kitchen, so she hurried to the kitchen door. There she saw you busy at the simple stove. And Zhou Yao had been busy all day, so hungry she was starving. After putting away the cornmeal buns, she went into the bedroom. She placed the sleeping baby on the small bed. But when she turned her head, she saw a can of milk powder on the table. Zhou Yao's blood immediately rushed to her head. She ran into the kitchen, raised her hand and slapped you. "Are you gonna run and force my mom to give you money? How could you be such a bastard?" With his wife suddenly bringing this up, he slowly started to remember that he really had threatened his mother-in-law for money before. So he quickly denied it. "I don't have any money. This is all I earned today." As he spoke, he reached into his crotch. Seeing this, Zhou Yao got even angrier. She walked up and slapped him across the face again. "What kind of time is this? And you're thinking about that?" Getting slapped twice in a row left him both amused and annoyed. Zhou Yao showed no sign of stopping. He quickly pulled out 5 10 yuan bills from his crotch. "Wife, this is the money I made today. Take it." Zhou Yao looked at the bills shoved into her hand. She felt like the world was spinning. Seeing his wife about to fall, he reached out to steady her. But Zhou Yao harshly slapped his hand away. She couldn't believe that a good-for-nothing like him could earn so much money in one day. What kind of shady business had he been up to? What the hell was she supposed to do now? This life was just impossible. He could see Zhou Yao didn't believe a word he said. He nearly dropped to his knees. "Last night I went up the mountain and picked wild dendrobium. And I happened to come across some fruit, and traded that stuff from the civets den for 6 10 yuan bills. I spent 1 on buying grain. This is all that's left." Hearing the word dendrobium, some life came back into Zhou Yao's eyes. The north has ginseng. The south has dendrobium. That stuff has high medicinal value, and can sell for money. But it only grows deep in the mountains, and is very hard to find, especially in the dead of night. But thinking it over, there had been bloodstains by the well this morning, and there was civet meat stewing in the pot. Could it be that she had really wronged him? But how did he know about dendrobium? Under Zhou Yao's gaze, "You raised your right hand and swore, 'I really didn't do anything bad. Otherwise may I die without descendants.'" Seeing his wife's breathing steady a bit, and her eyes not so fierce, he felt relieved inside. "Yao Yao, put the money away quickly. I'm gonna take some meat to Big Brother's house. Let them have a taste too. Although it's safer in the hidden space." But handing over money to his wife means handing over control of the household. Then you picked up a plate of stir-fried fruit, along with the meat and stewed crucian carp tofu soup, and placed them on the main room table. Then you went back to the kitchen and filled a full bowl, and walked toward Big Brother's house. On the way, he also paid back the rice paste money owed to Old Huang, and the previous wine debt. Meanwhile, Zhou Yao stared at the wad of cash in her hand, and hurried back into the house. In the 2+ years since she married in, it had always been you who scraped money from her. This was the first time you voluntarily handed over money. So she split the money into 5 parts, and hid them separately. After finishing that, She heard steady footsteps outside and came out of the room. Seeing the steaming dish and soup on the table, she felt a bit dazed for a moment. Then she went to the kitchen and took a look. The flour jar was more than half full. The oil jar was also full, and a piece of pork belly weighing over 10 jin hung from the beam. Had he really changed? At this moment, Zhou Yao wasn't sure. After all, a dog can't stop eating shit. Seeing Zhou Yao sit down, he picked a pheasant leg and put it in her bowl. I'll go up the mountain early tomorrow morning. While winter hasn't come yet, I'll quickly harvest all the places where dendrobium can be dug. After all, this is the fastest way to make money right now. Once the whole country relaxes restrictions, I'll take the money and invest. Zhou Yao heard your words. Zhou Yao was stunned for a moment. He nodded. He didn't say anything. He had gotten lucky last night, stumbling upon a piece of dendrobium. No way he could be that lucky every time. Zhou Yao wanted to remind him, if you really want to make money, get a job. A few cents a day is still better than nothing. But thinking about your happiness, as long as you didn't go out gambling or drinking, she let you be. He picked up his chopsticks to put the pheasant leg from the bowl back. Seeing this, you quickly used the kid as an excuse to stop your wife. You're too skinny. Eat more. Otherwise, the baby won't have any milk. No matter how good formula is, it can't beat breast milk. Plus, formula is expensive and hard to find. This is crucian carp and tofu soup. Drink it, it'll help with milk production. Hearing this, Zhou Yao shot you a glare. Her knuckles turned white, gripping the chopsticks. But she didn't refuse again. You had been going at it for a whole day and night, exhausted and sleepy. The family's livelihood issue had finally been settled. After filling your stomach, you just said straight out, wife, I'm gonna sleep now. With that, you got up, bent down and went inside. You hit the pillow and fell asleep. When Zhou Yao finished washing the dishes and came back to the room, she frowned at the clothes you'd taken off on the floor. Then she picked them up. Under the moonlight, she washed the clothes. After finishing, she dragged her tired body back to the bedroom. Her foot accidentally kicked a basket on the floor. Zhou Yao picked it up and took a look. It turned out to be a brand new set of women's clothes, and 3 sets of baby clothes. So she stared at you, already fast asleep, for a good while. I can't quite figure this guy out. You slept like the dead, completely out of it. In the middle of the night, their daughter woke up twice, but she still didn't wake you. It wasn't until early morning that you groggily opened your eyes. Turning over, he saw Zhou Yao curled up with her back to him. At that moment, she was only wearing a shabby little tank top. It made him swallow hard. After all, after Zhou Yao died in his past life, he never went looking for another woman, so he reached out and pulled her into his arms. This whole thing felt as unreal as a dream. Just as he was about to lean down to kiss her, the wife in his arms suddenly tensed up. Clearly, she was resisting his touch. So he forced down the bitterness in his heart, rolled over and got out of bed. For now, he'd have to bear with it. He took the clean clothes off the clothesline. He didn't care that they were still damp, and quickly put them on. Then, tiptoeing, he took the things out of the basket and placed them on the table. At that moment, Zhou Yao sat up in bed. With a cold face, she said to him, if you really want to change, then go find a job. As long as you're willing to work hard, you can make over $10 a month. We can get by as a family. Hearing his wife taking the initiative to talk to him, his heart leaped with joy. He knew Zhou Yao was thinking about him. But heaven had given him the chance to live another life. He had to save up enough startup capital before the country fully opened up. In his last life, after his wife and daughter left, he was like a homeless dog, wandering outside for some time. Later, he met a benefactor and got the chance to work as a waiter in a state-run store. Because he was smooth-tongued and good at talking, he was gradually promoted to manager. And that gave him the opportunity to cross social classes and interact with those big shots. In this life, he had to use his own hands to earn his first pot of gold as quickly as possible. So hunting and gathering dendrobium was the fastest way to make money now. More importantly, he now carried the memories of his past life. He knew where the dendrobium was. With such a great opportunity, how could he let it slip by? But for now, he didn't know how to explain to his wife why he insisted on going up the mountain to pick dendrobium. Zhou Yao saw that he remained silent for a long time. She knew his stubborn streak had flared up, so she simply pulled up the blanket. Lying down again, kitchen. In the pot on the stove. There's still cornmeal buns left for you. Hearing what she said, your brows arched sharply. Your face was full of barely hidden joy. Then you came to the bedside and planted a kiss on Zhou Yao's cheek. Wife, I already talked to our big brother yesterday. You don't need to go help them today. Once you've got time with the pork in the kitchen, send half of it over to my mother-in-law. And Zhou Yao, seeing you come close, thought she had made you mad, that you were about to hit her again. But instead, she was caught off guard by your sneak attack. She didn't catch what you said, nor did she see. You even kissed your daughter before you left. By the time she snapped out of it, you were already long gone. The dim room held only her and their daughter sleeping in the small bed. Though it was still early, she tossed and turned, and just couldn't fall back asleep. She lay in bed until the sun was high, then heard someone pounding on the door outside. Second sister-in-law, so early. Something on your mind? Lu Hohat's eyes darted toward the kitchen. Her smile was way too quick. Fourth brother's wife. I heard from the eldest sister-in-law. Your family had meet last night. Huh? Did your old fourth win big gambling? Without waiting for a reply, her feet seemed to have eyes, sliding straight toward the kitchen door. Oh my God, old fourth wouldn't have stolen or robbed, would he? A piece of meat that big must cost a fortune. Nobody here has seen meat in nearly half a year. The kids begged for days and we still didn't buy any. She finally tore her eyes away, but then spotted on the dark wall half a pheasant hanging there. She instantly lost her composure. Fourth brother's wife. You better keep your man away from gambling. Might even get sent to a labor camp. Zhou Yao heard her say this. Her face slowly darkened. Second sister-in-law, what kind of talk is that? If he broke the law, the police will catch him, no need for. Second sister-in-law, you to meddle in this. Lu Hohat wanted to say something else, but her eyes darted around, as if she thought of something, and she swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue. Don't be mad at me, second sister-in-law. I'm just worried about our fourth brother. My man is his own blood brother. My little Bao has been crying and begging for meat to eat. Do you think you could lend me 5 caddies of meat first? Later, I'll have your second brother bring you the money. In these past 2 years of living together, Zhou Yao saw it clearly as a mirror. She had long figured out exactly what kind of person this second sister-in-law was. Once something goes into her house, it's like a meat bun thrown to a dog. And for her to open her mouth asking for 5 caddies of meat, let alone the fact that I don't dare make the call myself, lend it to him, even if she has the say in the household, she can't just make such a big decision. I don't have the authority. Second sister-in-law, wait for old four to come back and tell him. As she spoke, she walked over and latched the kitchen door. Lu Hohat saw her like this, and felt very displeased. Fine, when old four comes back, you remember to tell him to send the meat to my house for me. As she turned to leave, Lu Hohat's smile couldn't hold up anymore. Over here in the mountains it was almost noon. Relying on the little memory from your past life, you spent a good deal of effort to find a wild dendrobium, with the experience of groping in the dark yesterday. By the time the dendrobium's roots were mostly exposed, the moment had arrived. This one was much bigger than yesterday's. Until it was getting dark, you carefully dug out that whole big one. Just as you were about to go down the mountain and head home, you turned and ran into a sick deer. Looks like it came to gnaw on the dendrobium. Seeing this, you quickly grabbed the hunting rifle you traded for yesterday from the space. But a gunshot rang out through the forest, scattering the birds in all directions. Back home, Zhou Yao had already cooked the meal. After warming up the baby's milk powder, and you still hadn't come back, she furrowed her brow. Dendrobium isn't that easy to find. She still needs to make sure he learns a proper trade. Just as Zhou Yao was lost in thought, you quietly slipped into the yard. It wasn't until you pulled the things out of the basket that Zhou Yao inside the house finally heard the noise and came out holding their daughter. Wash your hands and eat, she said, then turned and went back inside with the baby. You noticed your wife glance into the basket, but she didn't say a word. When you stepped inside and saw the steaming hot food on the table, your eyes stung. You wished you could go back to your past life and slap yourself to death. A wife so beautiful and kind. How did you ever fail to cherish her? You walked over to the table and sat down, shoveling the food into your mouth. Wife, I'm going to the village head's place later. We'll get the electricity wired into the house these next few days. Hearing that, Zhou Yao's hand patting the baby paused. She couldn't help speaking up about getting power hooked up. That means paying the electric bill every month from now on. She said it while sneaking a glance at you, afraid she'd set you off, and you'd flip the table. You caught the look on Zhou Yao's face, so you put down your chopsticks, walked to the door, and carried the basket inside. Wife, this is what I dug up today. I'll take it to the city pharmacy another day and sell it. Should be able to get a decent price. Zhou Yao stared straight at it, then lifted her eyes to meet yours, and asked in an incredulous tone, did you really dig these up? Seeing that, you went on to explain. I swear I didn't steal or rob anyone. This is honestly what I got from a whole day out in the mountains. Zhou Yao saw the calm look on your face, and finally nodded, though still a little doubtful. Second sister-in-law came by earlier today. She wanted to borrow 5 pounds of pork. Seeing Zhou Yao's frown, it was clear she wasn't happy. Probably because I wasn't home. Second sister-in-law had given her a hard time. So you said in a serious tone, from now on, you're in charge of this house. The money and everything are yours to manage. If you don't want to lend it, then we won't. Your words made Zhou Yao wonder. After thinking for a while, she said timidly, I don't want to lend it to second sister-in-law. She says she's borrowing, but she'll never pay it back. This isn't the first time she's borrowed from us and not returned it. Hearing Zhou Yao's words, a relieved smile spread across your face. You playfully tapped her nose. If you don't want to lend it, Then we won't. We won't take her crap. That smile of yours caught Zhou Yao completely off guard. Then she picked up their daughter and went into the inner room. After you finished eating, you washed the dishes and chopsticks, then cut half a pound of meat, and slipped out into the dark. Village Chief Wang Shuangwei saw your dark, weathered face, and was taken aback. Then he spotted the meat in your hand, and his wrinkled face broke into a huge grin. Zhao Kuan coming to see me this late. What's up? He asked while taking the meat from your hand. I want to get an electric light set up in my house. Can you help arrange it when you have time? Sure, I'll take care of it tomorrow. Hearing that you didn't stick around, you stood up, thanked him, and turned to leave. But when you passed the kitchen, you saw Zhou Yao in the pitch-black kitchen, gnawing on the leftover meat bones you'd eaten. That sight stung your eyes. Felt like all the blood in your body had frozen solid. Then you said, your voice hoarse. What are you doing? When Zhou Yao heard it was your voice, she trembled in fear. The bone at her lips fell to the ground. Then she looked at you in the yard with terror. Don't hit me. These are all the scraps you left. I just felt it was a shame to throw them away. At that moment you felt thunderstruck, never so defeated. Then with a thud, you knelt before her, and Zhou Yao screamed in terror. What do you want? Zhou Yao lowered her eyelids, looking at the man kneeling before her, until she felt her chest dampened. She actually cried. Her long-sealed heart seemed to crack a little, and seeing his wife eat his leftovers, it was like a knife stabbed deep into your heart. So you stood up from the ground, cupping your wife's fair cheeks, bowed your head and kissed away the tears at the corners of her eyes. Wife, go wait in the main room. When the food is ready, I'll bring it in. You are my great benefactor. Zhou Yao didn't understand that sentence. Embarrassed as if she'd seen a ghost, she slipped out of the kitchen. After bustling around in the kitchen for a while, a plate of fragrant stir-fried meat slices came out of the wok, the coarse grain bun that he found spicy in the throat. His wife treasured so much she couldn't bear to take a bite. But as soon as he walked into the inner room, he saw a snow-white beautiful back come into view. Instantly, blood rushed to his lower abdomen. You stepped forward and pulled her into your arms from behind. Wife, don't leave me again. In that moment of indulgence, Zhou Yao felt for the first time that doing this was such a comfortable and pleasurable thing. It was the first time since their wedding night that the two had slept together so intimately. Thinking about last night's situation, Zhou Yao felt her cheeks burning. When she turned her face and saw the child in the small bed, Zhou Yao instantly turned pale with fright. Last night, it seemed she hadn't heard her daughter cry at all. Seeing his wife suddenly change, staring straight at the daughter's side, you quickly got out of bed, dashed a few steps to the daughter's crib, saw that the daughter was already awake, was smiling with big eyes. At that moment, looking at your daughter, your heart softened, carefully picked her up and held her in your arms. Returned to the bedside, seeing the daughter was fine, still grinning. Zhou Yao's heart finally felt relieved. Her tense nerves relaxed. Then her eyes reddened, almost cried, regretting how she could have slept so soundly last night. Such a small child. If anything happened, how could she go on living? Wife, you lie down with Nyo for a while longer. I'll go make you breakfast. Zhou Yao then checked what was under the daughter's bottom. Although it wasn't covered very neatly, it was clean and freshly changed. No wonder she didn't hear the daughter cry last night. It was this man who got up and took care of her. This was the first time since the child was born that he had taken the initiative to care for her. So has he really changed? Can she trust him again? On the other side, you skillfully busied yourself in the kitchen, waiting for your wife to come out with the child. The meal was ready. Tofu with small greens, cornmeal porridge with multigrain steamed buns. You, shirtless, took the child from Zhou Yao's arms. Wife, you go wash up first. But Zhou Yao was a bit uneasy. But seeing you clumsily holding such a tiny child, she burst out laughing. She's your own daughter, not a tiger. How could she bite you? During the meal, Village Chief Wang Xuanzhu came with an electrician. As soon as they entered the yard, they saw Zhou Yao sitting at the table eating. You, shirtless, were walking around the yard holding the child. He noticed a neat circle of teeth marks on the inside of your arm, and smiled meaningfully. Zhao Kuan hasn't finished his meal yet. You didn't expect Wang Xuanzhu to find someone so early, and brought the village chief and the electrician to the yard's outer gate to chat. After Zhou Yao finished eating and went back to her room, you only then handed the child to the groom. Then from the loose pocket of your shorts you pulled out a pack of Dakiaman cigarettes. The village chief looked at the Dakiaman cigarette in his hand, showing a mouthful of yellow teeth. He said with a smile, "You little brat, you've made something of yourself. This stuff costs 4 mao a pack." The electrician beside him smiled even more honestly. He tucked the cigarette behind his ear, and carrying the ladder went around to the back of the house. This job is worth it. Cigarettes at 4 mao a pack. He usually couldn't bear to smoke them himself. This family is generous. Once the electricity was connected, you went back inside the house. Just as you walked in, a piece of clothing flew right at you. Before you could figure out what was happening, you heard Zhou Yao say, "Quick, put on your clothes. What kind of look is that, walking around bare-chested?" At that moment there were a few scratch marks on your back. They were left by Zhou Yao last night. The village chief and the electrician both saw them, but neither said anything about it. However, you didn't know anything, and wandered around bare-chested. This made Zhou Yao so embarrassed she wished she could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. With outsiders present, she was too shy to remind you. It wasn't until you went up the mountain that Zhou Yao covered her burning cheeks and calmed down for a while. Then she continued to take down the bedding and clean it. She moved the child's small bed to the yard, placed the child on it, filled a basin with water, prepared to wash the bedding. Just then, Zhou's mother arrived carrying a basket. Inside were eggs and a small piece of meat. When Zhou Yao saw her mother, she quickly wiped her hands and stood up. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Zhou's mother carried the basket into the kitchen. Her eyes swept over her daughter from head to toe, looking at her worn-out, ill-fitting clothes. I stung a bit, quickly looked away, picked up the granddaughter from the small bed and said, "Just finished up at home. Came by to check on you," she said, her eyes sweeping over the rundown 3-room mud and thatch house. He was filled with regret every single moment, that he shouldn't have agreed to this marriage. Ruined his daughter's life. Yao Yao's mom, "I've thought it over. If you really can't make it work with him, just divorce him. You're young, you still have a long life ahead. A whole lifetime. Can't let it be ruined by that scumbag." Zhou Yao heard her own mother's words. First froze for a moment, sat on the stool for a long time without saying a word. That day, he took the money she had borrowed from her parents' home to buy rice cereal for their daughter, to buy liquor. She truly felt utterly hopeless. Felt like there was no hope at all being with him. Even the thought of death crossed her mind. At that moment, she wanted to jump into the reservoir holding her daughter. But when he sobered up, first, in regret, he slapped himself more than a dozen times. Then he panicked and rushed out to buy rice cereal for the child. These past few days, he looked like a completely different person. No longer went out to fool around. Stopped drinking. Stopped gambling. Mother Lin watched her daughter with her head down, not speaking. Thought she was worried about the child. Opened her mouth and said, "If you want to take the child, Mom can help you raise her together in the future." Hesitated a bit after saying this. "But if you stay home to raise the child, it'll be hard to remarry. Divorce is extremely rare these days. No matter how hard or bitter life gets, a woman has to grit her teeth and keep going." Hearing that her own mother had even thought through the matter of remarrying after divorce, had considered everything for her, Zhou Yao took the child from her mother's arms. "I'm not thinking about divorce right now. He seems to be slowly changing for the better." As she said this, she tugged at the brand new little outfit on the child. It was clothes she earned money to buy for the child. Also bought a set for me, but I couldn't bear to wear it. Zhou's mother looked at her daughter's fair, youthful face. 952. A blush that hadn't been seen in a long time appeared. 953. Her eyes seemed to light up again. 954. She couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. 955. He had just yesterday accidentally overheard Ermatzi next door say 956. He owed someone $5,957, such a large debt. 958, and he doesn't do honest work. 959. How could he ever repay it? 960. Because of this. 961. He was worried. 962. He came early in the morning carrying things to check on them. 963. But seeing his daughter's expression, it didn't seem fake. 964. Thinking of this. 965. She didn't tell her daughter what she had heard. 966. Afraid she. 967. Because she's having a quarrel with you. 968. She collected her thoughts. 969. Red-eyed. 970. She nodded with relief. 971. If he can change, that would be good. 972. Then Mom would be at ease. 973. As she spoke, she raised her hand to wipe away the tears from the corners of her eyes. 974. At this moment, you had just gone up the mountain, a multigrain bun in your mouth. 975. Calculating how much it would cost to build a 2-story house. Now 976. Based on the current price of the dendrobium, you could dig up 977 after building the house. There would still be a sum. 978. A very considerable savings for this era. 979. After all, at this time. 980. There weren't many households with 10,981 yuan. Thinking you'd definitely be living in the village for the next couple of years. 982. First, improve the living conditions. 983. The 3 dilapidated mud brick houses the family currently lived in. 984. After entering. 985. With your height, you felt you couldn't even straighten your back. 986. Inside, the dust was terrible. 987. Everywhere, crumbling. 988. Really not a place for people to live. 989. At this time, the younger brother had no idea. 990. Your mother-in-law was discussing with your wife whether to divorce. 991. If you found out about this. 992. You'd probably have no heart to go up the mountain to dig dendrobium recently. 993. After all, having lived a second life. 994. Making money is important in your heart. 995. But nothing is as important as your wife and child. 996. You know the money-making tricks from your previous life. 997. So naturally you're not in a hurry for this instant. 998. Seeing that it was almost noon. 999. Zhou's mother didn't even have time to eat 1,000. A flush that hadn't been seen in a long time appeared. Her eyes seemed to light up again. He couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Just yesterday he had overheard the neighbor Ermatzi saying, He owed a stranger 50 bucks. Such a big debt. And he doesn't do anything proper. How is he going to pay it back? Because of this, he was worried. He came over early in the morning with some things to check. But seeing his daughter's expression, it didn't seem fake. Thinking of this, she didn't tell her daughter what she had heard. Afraid of him, because this was her having a disagreement with you. He gathered his thoughts, his eyes red, and nodded with relief. If he can change, that would be good. Then Mom will be reassured. As he spoke, he raised his hand to wipe the tears from the corners of his eyes. At this moment, you had just gone up the mountain, a coarse grain bun in your mouth, calculating roughly how much it would cost now to build a 2-story house. Based on the current price of dendrobium you could dig up, building the house would still leave a decent amount, a pretty substantial savings by the standards of this era. After all, back then, there weren't many households with 10,000 yuan. Figuring he'd have to stay in the village for at least a couple more years, he wanted to upgrade the living conditions first. Right now, the family was stuck in 3 rundown mudbrick rooms. Once inside, someone his height could barely stand up straight. The place was absolutely filthy with dust. Everywhere was crumbling. It was no place for a person to live. At this point, the younger brother had no clue that the mother-in-law was discussing with the wife whether she should divorce or not. If you found out about that, you'd probably lose all motivation to head up the mountain for stone. After all, being reborn once, you knew making money was important, but nothing mattered more than your wife and kid. You already had the money-making know-how from your past life, so there was no rush for the moment. Seeing that it was almost noon, Joe's mother hadn't even had time to eat, in a hurry to get back home. Afraid that if he eats one more bite, his daughter would have one less bite to eat. Zhou Yao couldn't stop him, so she had to take down the meat hanging in the kitchen, and cut off more than half with one stroke, then grabbed it and chased after him. Mom, take this back and share it with my brother. And his wife. When Zhou Yao's mother saw such a big piece of meat, she kept waving her hands, refusing to take it, afraid that if you found out she was helping her family like this, you would hit her again. Daughter. Even more afraid that her daughter would go without, and suffer. You keep it to eat. We don't lack this at home. Look how skinny you are. You need to nourish yourself. Otherwise, how will the child get milk? In the end, Zhou Yao's mother didn't take the meat. She carried her basket and walked away step by step. Zhou Yao stood at the door, watching her mother walk farther and farther away, until she couldn't see her anymore. Then she picked up the meat and turned into the kitchen. The neighbor Zhang Guilan was about the same age as Zhou Yao, but she had married into the village 2 years earlier. She had dark skin, and was gnawing on a raw carrot, leaning over the wall. Sister, you never go out. It's all over town. Your second sister-in-law got a beating from your second brother last night. Crying and screaming. Several households heard it. Zhou Yao came out of the kitchen and sat on a stool in the yard, responding half-heartedly from time to time. Zhang Guilan saw she wasn't talkative, so she pulled a stool and sat down in front of Zhou Yao's washbasin. Lowering her voice, she whispered, "Outside, everyone is saying that your second brother's son Debeo isn't your second brother's." When Zhou Yao heard this, she immediately stopped what she was doing, and looked up at Zhang Guilan. "He's your eldest brother's kid." Zhang Guilan saw the confusion in her eyes, and stuffed the rest of the gnawed carrot into her pocket, whispered gossipily in his ear with a nosy expression. Zhou Yao was completely stunned after hearing that. She really couldn't believe such a thing existed. She used to quite respect this older brother. Thought he was honest and reliable, fair in his dealings, really had the makings of a big brother. But after hearing about this, she felt a bit uncomfortable inside. How could things be like this? Zhang Guilan seemed very satisfied with her reaction, patted the young wife from the city and said, "All right, I need to go home and cook for my husband. Won't keep chatting with you. That night you came back very late. This time when you returned, you saw the lights on at home from afar. Couldn't help sighing inwardly. This electric light is indeed much brighter than the kerosene lamp." Zhou Yao saw you come back, quickly brought out the dishes and white flour steamed buns that were kept warm in the pot, casually asked, "Why are you back so late today? Noticed you had some dirt on your clothes." Set down the dishes and started brushing the mud off you with her hands. You quickly stopped her, turned around and bolted the main room door, then fished out something from the pile of grass in the bamboo basket, carefully placed it on the table, having dug up some dendrobium. Encountered an unexpected gain on the way back. You didn't tell your wife that you slipped and fell, and only then came across this thing. Climbing back up took a lot of effort. That's why you were back so late. This thing's price now is not lower than dendrobium. All sold by the gram. It's an unexpected small fortune. You plan to have a good intimate time with your wife tonight. Not go to the mountain tomorrow. First go deal with the goods in hand. Zhou Yao looked at the piece of black-brown shape on the table. Something that looked a bit like ginger. Seemed to have seen this in a book. Asked with uncertainty, "Is this Polygonum multiflorum?" Her tone filled with disbelief. You didn't expect your wife to be so knowledgeable. Most people in the village still don't know how valuable this is. With all those treasures up in the mountains, they would have been picked clean by now. Dendrobium and polygonum will still be valuable for about 10 more years. After that, as farming techniques improve, all of this can be artificially cultivated. They'll become common on the market, and they won't be so rare anymore. But even then, wild rare medicinal herbs will still be absurdly expensive, because wild ones are simply unaffordable. You flash a grin full of white teeth, pull your pretty wife into your arms, lean down and plant a kiss on her soft cheek. Meeting her sparkling eyes, you say, "That's right, it's polygonum. Tomorrow, I'm taking you and the kid into town for a stroll." As soon as she hears about taking the kid out, Zhou Yao freezes up. She remembers before, when he said he was going to sell their daughter to that childless family in town. Family, she still gets chills thinking about it. Who knows if they really can't have kids, or if they're buying her as a child bride. She pulls away from his arms, on guard and cautious, refusing. "The girl is still little. We won't go. You go wash up and eat." You can tell right away something's off with your wife. You wanted to take her out for a stroll, maybe pick up some winter clothes for her, but seeing her all tense again, she's obviously scared you've got bad intentions for the kid. With all the rotten things you've done, it's not so easy for her to let go of her worries. Your credit's long been used up. All you can do is take it slow. You strip off your sweat-stained shirt, open the door and step out, wash up quickly, then head back in and sit down. Only then do you notice the food on the table. A plate of golden scrambled eggs, and a small plate of leftover stir-fried meat from this morning. Did he not even eat any veggies for lunch? If he keeps scrimping and saving like this, when will he ever be able to fatten her up? Looks like I need to earn more money fast, so she can feel at ease. She needed to feel at ease. Wife, where did these eggs come from? Zhou Yao lowered her head and ladled you a bowl of flour soup. Not long after you left, my mom stopped by. She brought them over. Your mother-in-law didn't bring up the divorce. Not a single word about it. When you heard it was from your mother-in-law, you remembered asking her for money to drink, and felt ashamed, too embarrassed to face anyone. He didn't even ask what your mother-in-law came for, just thinking to himself, once brother Ming sells off what he's got, he'd pay back the money he'd borrowed from his mother-in-law. You reached out and pulled your wife close, told her to sit down and eat quickly, as you handed her a mixed-grain steamed bun. Your wife still couldn't bring herself to steam white flour buns. She made mixed-grain buns with half-white flour. You grabbed a cornmeal bun and started wolfing it down. Zhou Yao took a small bite of the mixed-grain bun, looked up and secretly studied the man in front of her. If only he could stay like this forever. But she didn't know how long this burst of warmth would last. The two of them were eating, when a shout came from outside. "Bro, it's me, Early Uzi. Come on out. We're one short, the guys. Waiting for you to drink and play cards." When Zhou Yao heard that voice, her face went pale as a sheet, her eyes fixed on him in a stare. Afraid you'd go out drinking and gambling with them again like before. When you heard that voice, you froze for a moment, then remembered who it was. You put down your chopsticks, looked up, and saw your wife's pale, scared face. You quickly got up, pulled her into your arms. "Wife, what's wrong? Are you feeling sick?" Your voice was full of worry and concern. Zhou Yao held in your arms, her slender, pale fingers clutching the tank top on your chest, her lips trembling slightly. "You're gonna go drink and play cards with them again." When you heard that, you finally understood why your wife was like this, scared he might slip back into his old habits. His chin resting on her soft hair. His arms tightened without thinking, pulling her even closer. The body in his arms was painfully thin. She hadn't had a single good day since marrying him. Even a full meal was a luxury, and yet, she still held on to hope for him, wanting to build a real life together. He took a deep breath, forcing back the sting in his eyes. His voice low and rough as he tried to calm her. "Don't worry, I'm not going. I'll send them away right now, and I'm done messing around with them for good." Zhou Yao held in his arms, hearing his words, lifted her face, her eyes searching, staring straight at him, demanding, "Really not going?" He lowered his gaze, meeting his wife's anxious, probing eyes. He wished he could show her his heart, tell her he'd truly turned over a new leaf, couldn't help but peck her on the tip of her pert nose. His breath warm and dry against her skin. "Swear to you I'm really not going. Trust me. I'll make them get the hell out." Then he gently set his wife back down on the stool. "You keep eating. I'll be right back." He straightened up, and saw his wife still gripping the front of his tank top tightly. If he didn't know those three guys outside were bad news, he'd have taken her with him, let her watch him, refused them, all right, to put her mind at ease. He leaned down, kissed the top of her head again. His rough, warm hand gently patted her thin back. Only then did she slowly let go. He straightened up, and strode off with firm steps. Arriving at the courtyard gate, he opened the wooden door. The men at the doorway saw him come out. That guy called Uzi grinned lewdly and cracked a dirty joke. Fourth brother. That's not cool. Your wife just got out of her month-long recovery, and you can't leave the house? It's been days. You haven't come out for a drink with us. Hearing that filthy talk, he furrowed his sharp brows and barked with a heavy voice. Damn it. From now on, watch your mouth. If you can't talk right, then shut your trap. The other two had been laughing along, but seeing his dark expression, they immediately wiped the grins off their faces and quickly tried to smooth things over. Hey, fourth brother. He's just got a dirty mouth. Don't mind him. Come on. Let's go grab a drink. As he spoke, he reached out to put his arm around his shoulder. He lifted his hand and brushed the guy's arm away. His eyes flicked to the side, glancing at the other two. If it's about drinking or gambling, don't come looking for me anymore. I've quit. The three of them stared at him like he was a ghost. They looked at each other, totally dumbfounded. That Uzi still had a sleazy smirk on his face. The dumbass kept teasing. Did your little wife put you on a leash, fourth brother? Can't even leave the house? She's past her month now. So come have a drink with us. Before he could finish, he kicked him right in the chest, sent him flying onto his back, lying on the ground. Moaning, he strode over, bent down, his dark eyes blazing with menace. A fierce glint shone in his black eyes, staring straight at the bastard on the ground. Next time you run your filthy mouth again, I'll sew both your mouths shut and break your third leg, he said, grinding his foot down harder. Uzi lay on the ground, ignoring the pain in his chest, both hands desperately pushing against the big foot on his chest, screaming like a kicked dog. Fourth brother, I was wrong. I won't talk trash anymore. The other two were scared out of their wits, stunned, speechless. You exuded a murderous aura, looking terrifying in the night. No one dared to step in and calm things down. They were all afraid of this guy. When this guy fought, he was a ruthless bastard who didn't care if he lived or died. But today was the first time they saw him just getting angry like a starving, man-eating tiger that sent chills down their spines. You were afraid Uzi might spout nonsense and bring your wife out here. You didn't want your wife to see you like this, so violent, afraid of scaring her. If because of this stupid mess, she ended up fearing you again, that would be the end of it. You straightened up, glared down at Uzi on the ground, and pulled your foot back. Get lost. The two of them were relieved, quickly hoisted Uzi up, muttered to you, fourth brother, we'll be going now. As soon as they left, you pulled back that violent edge, stepped into the yard, and bolted the door. Inside the house, Zhou Yao had been restless ever since you went out, on pins and needles. Every minute felt like an eternity. Seeing you hadn't come back for so long, her heart almost turned cold. Her stomach was growling with hunger. But looking at the steaming hot food on the table, you couldn't eat a single bite yourself. In just a few days, seeing you getting better little by little, unconsciously, hope for you started to kindle in my heart again. I don't expect him to become rich and powerful, just hoping he can live a stable life. But if he goes out drinking and gambling again, what am I supposed to do? The child is still so young. There's no way I can take her out to work. Do I really have to get a divorce? While she was in a daze, she heard the sound of steady footsteps. Her eyes instinctively looked towards the direction of the sound. She saw his tall figure walking in from the moonlight. At that moment, Zhou Yao's eyes, which had been lifeless, suddenly lit up. He actually didn't go out fooling around with those bastards. She was still in a daze. But you had already walked up behind her. Bending down, you pulled her into your broad embrace. Lowering your head, you kissed your wife's fair cheek. What's up? Your man just stepped out. Don't recognize me after a moment? As you spoke, you handed the chopsticks to her, sat down at the table, picked up a cornmeal steamed bun, and started wolfing it down in big bites. Zhou Yao still couldn't react. She asked subconsciously, are you really not going to hang out with them anymore from now on? Reporting to the madam wife, I've cut ties with them completely. I won't hang out with them anymore. Zhou Yao finally nodded, and began to eat slowly and gracefully. While eating, she kept stealing glances at him. But she saw that you ate very quickly, yet your table manners weren't bad. Paired with his sharp, handsome face, it was actually quite pleasing to look at. Back when she married him, besides him saving her life, actually part of the reason was that he was good-looking. She was simply bewitched by his looks back then. Plus the fact that it was a sibling exchange marriage for her brother. That's why she married this poor guy, and seeing his wife staring at him in a daze, wondering what's going on in that little head of hers, placed a shiny piece of egg on top of his mantu. A smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth as he teased. Hurry up and eat, babe. You'll get an eyeful later when we're in bed. His nonsense snapped Zhou Yao back to reality. Taking in his cocky, roguish look, she shot him a fierce glare, blushed and dropped her head, dove into her food. Full now, he wasn't in a hurry to leave. lounged on the rickety stool, staring straight at her. The more he looked at his wife, the more he liked her. Even though times were tough, the food was plain, and she had no makeup. Her skin was still smooth and radiant, prettier than any injected celebrity. He noticed the hand gripping her chopsticks, knuckles bright red from the cold, so he grabbed her slender wrist, pulled it up to his face. Thinking about the sheets hanging outside to dry, he decided to sell the stuff in his hands tomorrow, and get a washing machine from the black market. Back then, a lot of people didn't even know what a washing machine was, let alone spend money on one. With a washing machine, his wife wouldn't have to scrub clothes by hand. Zhou Yao pulled her hand back, too flustered under his stare. If you're done eating, go boil some water. Wash yourself off. You're covered in mud. He stood up and planted a kiss on her cheek, then headed to the kitchen to boil water. After he left, Zhou Yao put down her chopsticks, touched her burning cheek. Ever since last night, he'd been all over her, even sneaking kisses every now and then. Every time he got close, she could smell his masculine scent, and her heart would pound like a trapped rabbit. She couldn't figure it out. What was going on with her? After the meal, he took Zhou Yao's hand and said he wanted to take her out for a walk, to help digest the food. On the way back, you didn't go home anymore. Zhou Yao turned in a different direction. A rundown mud hut next to the cowshed. A simple earthen stove set up outside. The woman inside clutched her chest, coughing nonstop. She grabbed a small handful of corn, scooped it out, into a chipped ceramic pot. Just those few steps, and her face turned pale, big beads of sweat rolling down her forehead. Just as worry set in, a man with graying hair strode over from not far away. Frowning, she took the ladle from him, told him to go back inside and lie down. She'd handle the cooking herself. The woman looked at him. The man handed her the half flatbread he'd traded for. Lucky today. Managed to trade for a flatbread. I ate half, brought the rest back. Eat it quick. Once you eat, you'll get better faster. You already ate. The man didn't hesitate at all. Threw a handful of rice into the pot, crouched down and started the fire. Said he'd already eaten. The woman thought about her own condition, held out the flatbread to him. I'm not hungry. You finish it. I've been lying down for half the day. Just want something light to drink. The man kept his head down, tending the fire. I said eat, so eat. If you don't eat, how will you get better? The man hung his head low. His eyes stung. I'm full today. What about tomorrow? Her health didn't matter. That tiny bit of rice. He'd begged for it from several villagers. He hurt for her. She'd been busy all day without eating. He also felt sorry for him. Going to the countryside to suffer with him. He grabbed his hand. Don't think too much. Just focus on getting better. I'll go find you medicine tomorrow. It'll definitely cure you. Zhou Yao felt a knot in her stomach. On the way back, you asked about those two. You were a bit quiet. How to explain it, you didn't really know the man. But in your past life, you'd seen the old man on TV. He'd spent decades in the business world. After he passed away, he donated his entire fortune. Set up a medical charity foundation in his wife's name. His biggest regret was not protecting their love. Watching her suffer from illness and die. You guessed based on your memories. That same illness must have taken his wife. But you figured. Her illness was mainly caused by malnutrition. In a drafty cowshed. Living on plain soup day after day. Even a minor illness could turn into a deadly one. You planned to have your wife take this medicine. And invest the rest of the money. This future big shot, at the very least, would be a tutor before the college entrance exam was reinstated. The next morning, before dawn, you opened your eyes, quietly got out of bed, walked to the small bed, carefully picked up your daughter, gently placed her next to your wife, tucked the little blanket in properly. After cooking breakfast for your wife, you closed the door from outside, and set out on the road. Even though it was still early, there were already a lot of people on the road. In those days, in the countryside, if someone owned a bike, a 28-inch one, that meant they were doing pretty well. So most people still had to walk, relying on your memory from your past life. You found the big herbal medicine shop right away. The middle-aged man with a square face saw what you took out, and sized you up. Then he picked up the dendrobium and examined it closely. As it turned out, this was Zhu's premium dendrobium. Every single stem was intact. He couldn't help feeling a bit surprised. Carefully, he placed the dendrobium on the counter. Then he asked cautiously, "What price were you thinking?" You didn't hold back when they asked you to name a price. You just gave them a number. You knew full well they'd definitely try to haggle. Sure enough, as soon as the pharmacy manager heard your price, he immediately knew the score. He could tell you weren't someone to mess with. He glanced at your basket, then invited you to the back courtyard. The two of you went back and forth for nearly an hour. In the end, you sold him 2 stalks of dendrobium, 1 polygonum multiflorum, and the deer antler. You were pretty satisfied with the price you got. You tucked away 50 big denomination bills and left the pharmacy. With money in hand, you headed to the state-run department store. You wanted to buy a washing machine. But when you asked the sales clerk, you were floored. You slapped your forehead. Sure, washing machines existed, but they were only used in hotels. And laundromats, they hadn't reached households yet. China's first home washing machine came out in 1978, and it hadn't even been produced yet. But you lucked into a ticket for a 9-inch black and white TV. You bought it without a second thought. You also grabbed some stamps, meat coupons, and grain tickets. A black market trader, seeing that a big spender had shown up, was extra friendly toward you. When he heard you wanted to buy a TV that same day, he found you a guy with a tractor who would haul everything to your village for just $2. You agreed without hesitation. Next, at the state-run store, you bought your wife a solid bright red wool sweater, pair of pants, and leather shoes. You also picked up a few brand new outfits for your kid. And you grabbed several new quilts. You bought everything you could think of, enough to fill nearly half a trailer. The tractor driver was stunned. He couldn't believe a guy in tattered clothes had that kind of money, buying so much stuff all at once. By the time you finished your shopping spree, it was already afternoon. Back at home, Zhou Yao woke up in the morning and saw the child sleeping beside her. She didn't know when you had left. Zhou Yao dragged her heavy, aching body out of bed, and saw that before leaving early. The man had already fixed up the meals neatly. On the table were golden fried eggs and sizzling pieces of meat. Zhou Yao's heart had to feel something. To say she wasn't moved was a lie. At noon, the village head Wang Xuanzhu brought a fresh-faced young woman to the door. Old Fourth's wife. This is a city girl sent down to the countryside. Li Tian. She'll be staying at your place from now on. Let Old Fourth know. And clear out a room for him to fix up. Zhou Yao was stunned, caught off guard. Having this young girl suddenly in the house. How could these 3 small mud-brick rooms fit everyone? One room was for the couple. The main room was for eating. The other was piled with odds and ends. There was no place for him to stay. Village chief, he's not home. I can't make that decision. Wang Xuanzhu laughed, his face wrinkling up. He waved his hand at Zhou Yao, not listening to her at all. Turned and said a few words to the city girl beside him. Then walked off. If it wasn't for the favor of that piece of meat the guy had given him, no way would he send such a pretty virgin girl to her house. When this batch of sent-down youth arrived, there were over 20 in total, most of them strong young men. Only this one delicate little girl, and he arranged her right here. The couple lived there. Sending over a girl was better than sending over a young man. A girl at home at night, nothing to be wary about. No need to worry about someone eyeing the pretty young wife. Left behind, Li Tian clutched her canvas bag and looked over the 3 shabby mud houses. A chill running through her heart. Her days ahead were bound to be harder than for any other sent-down youth. Hong Mei, who was assigned to another home, looked like she was living a pretty comfortable life. They were a middle-aged couple, with 3 kids in tow, all dressed up nice and flashy. On the way over, I heard them say, the man they got assigned to wasn't worth a damn. Drinks, gambles, and beats his wife. Their house was dirt poor, barely had a pot to piss in. Before I got here, I thought they were exaggerating. But now that I see it, they weren't lying one bit. The woman of the house was wearing old, ill-fitting clothes. But she was soft and pretty. Her features delicate, like she stepped out of a painting. Didn't look like a country girl at all. Zhou Yao sensed that gaze sizing her up. She glanced down at her own patched-up old outfit, then looked at the other woman, who was wearing a trendy polyester dress. White socks paired with leather shoes, all bright and shiny. She pretended not to notice. Ignoring the scrutinizing look, she spoke up. Have a seat for now. The house is a mess. Full of junk. I'll have to wait until my husband gets back to clear a space for you. With that, she turned and went inside, brought out a thermos and poured the guest a bowl of water. Zhou Yao nodded nervously and sat down on a stool in the yard. She was already scheming how to get her city transfer notice as fast as possible. She didn't want to stay in this dump a single day longer, especially living in the house of some local thug. She'd have to be careful from now on. Make sure this thug didn't try anything. Zhou Yao had planned to just throw together a quick meal for herself. But now, with the new educated youth here, she had to roll up her sleeves and start cooking. Li Tian figured since she'd be living here, she couldn't freeload. So she washed up and went into the kitchen, wanting to help. Sister-in-law, how about I tend the fire? She walked in and froze. The shabby kitchen was actually clean and tidy, and hanging from the beam was a big slab of meat. Who said this family was too broke to eat? Can't afford a meal but got meat on the table? Still so big. Zhou Yao was mixing dough, heard Li Tian's words. She looked up and said, I don't need your help. If you're free, help me keep an eye on the kid in the yard. Li Tian nodded and left the kitchen. She walked over to the crib, looking at the one lying there. The child, fair and clean like a porcelain doll, was adorable. She bent down to play with the child. She was puzzled. This woman of the house was about her own age. And she was so fair and pretty. How could she have married so early? How could she have taken a liking to such a worthless man? And a thug and a rogue. Could it be that she was forced by that rogue, and then married him? Thinking of this, Li Tiantian felt a chill. The more she thought, the more scared she got. She wondered whether to go to the village chief's house. To ask the village chief to change her assignment. Even if it's even poorer, that would be okay. As long as the man there is a decent person. In the kitchen, Zhou Yao was busy cooking. Little did she know that the educated youth outside was having such thoughts. Soon, a bowl of hot noodles was ready. Zhou Yao came out with the noodles. She called out, "Miss, come have a bowl of noodles first." Li Tiantian snapped back to reality. She stared at the noodles in the big bowl on the table, with oil spots floating on top. She was stunned for a moment. She quickly said, "My name is Li Tiantian, sister-in-law. Please call me Tiantian from now on." Zhou Yao nodded. She didn't say anything else. Around 4 in the afternoon, the tractor rumbled into the village. It stopped at your doorstep following your directions. Zhou Yao, who was shucking corn in the yard, suddenly heard a commotion outside. She quickly put down what she was doing. She stood up and walked to the door, just in time to see you nimbly jump off the tractor. She was puzzled in her heart. How did he get back on this sputtering tractor? Before he could even ask what was going on, the tractor driver hollered out, "Hey young man, all this stuff, can your place even fit it?" With that, he walked around from the front to the back of the tractor, shifting the TV over bit by bit. Careful not to bump it, he rushed up and carried the TV down from the vehicle. Grinning at the tractor driver, he said, "It's going to be plenty of space from now on." Standing nearby, Zhou Yao was stunned by what she was seeing, and asked in a daze, "Did you buy all of this?" Her voice was full of disbelief. All the stuff plus a TV. How much money and how many ration tickets did that cost? Seeing his wife's fair, pretty face, with her eyes staring blankly, he walked up and touched her cheek, knowing full well she was just worried about the cost. But to him, that little bit of money was nothing. He just wanted his wife to enjoy a good life with him from now on, and never let her suffer again. He leaned in close to Zhou Yao's ear and whispered, "I'll explain later. Just step aside for now. Don't get in the way. Let me unload everything first." Zhou Yao heard what he said, and moved aside like a puppet, watching each item come off the tractor, piling up like a small mountain. She was filled with regret. If she'd known, she would have brought the kid and come with him to town. How much did all this cost? Why doesn't he know how to manage money? Where did he get the money and the ration tickets? Ordinary folks can't even afford a TV. Just the electricity bill alone is a lot. What a waste. At that moment, Li Tiantian stood in the corner holding Xiao Ying, her eyes fixed on that tall, broad-shouldered, long-legged young man. He was the village's thug. She had thought you would be ugly and coarse, but never imagined you would have such sharp features and a handsome face. In all her life, she had rarely seen such a good-looking man. She felt her heart pounding wildly. Li Tiantian finally understood. A woman as beautiful as Zhou Yao. How did she get married so young? The goods were unloaded. You pulled $2 out of your pocket, handed it to the tractor driver. The driver took the money, waved his hand, drove off on the tractor. You started moving things into the yard again. Your wife wanted to help. You wouldn't let her. You told her to sit and rest. You didn't even notice there was an extra strange woman in the house. Zhao Jinxing heard the commotion and rushed over. When he saw all the stuff piled up at his brother's door, he was shocked. Where did this lazy guy get so much money to buy all this? He was dead broke. There was nothing in the house worth selling. Could he have sold the child? Thinking this, Zhao Jinxing couldn't help but speed up his steps. He reached the door and caught sight of his little niece in the female educated youth's arms. Only then did he feel relieved. Zhao Jinxing didn't say a word. He silently helped carry the things into the yard, looking at the heavy iron block. As soon as it was plugged in, pictures and sound came out. A bunch of ants fighting on it. It was so lively, like watching a movie. He circled it a few times out of curiosity, too shy to reach out and touch it. Heard this thing was precious. Cost a few $100. This was what city folks called a TV set. He never thought his own brother would bring one back. After putting away this one-of-a-kind item in the whole village, Zhao Jinxing pulled you to the yard gate, asked you where you got all that money. You calmly, patting your chest, and said that all this came from hunting, selling the game on the black market. You didn't tell your brother about the dendrobium. It wasn't that you didn't trust your brother, but because the dendrobium grew on steep cliffs. Even if I said it, Big Brother wouldn't be able to help much anyway. If word gets out, I'd be cutting off my own source of income. Wait till next spring when it warms up. I'll take you and second brother up the mountain to find a few good spots. Teach you the tricks. After that, it's up to each of you to make your own luck. Zhao Jinxing wanted to tell you to just stick to farming. But looking at his own brother in front of him, his eyes were shining, showing a sharpness and depth he'd never seen before. like he was a completely different person. Even the eldest brother felt like he didn't recognize him anymore. You figured the eldest brother rarely came by, so you let him in on the idea of building a house. Wanted to ask him to keep an eye on things. Pay him $1 a day for his work. Zhao Jinxing took a drag on his cigarette and said, "As long as you don't mess up, I'll work for you for free. I wouldn't even take any wages. But building a house is no joke. It's gonna cost a lot of money. Brother, the money. I've got the wages. I'll still pay you, even brothers keep clear accounts. Please find me a skilled craftsman, big brother. And use good materials. Try to move into the new house before winter sets in." Zhao Jinxing nodded, thinking the fourth brother just wanted to fix up the 3 thatched huts. Never expected he'd have the guts to build a 2-story house. The reason you dumped all this on your own brother was because you were so busy you could barely keep up. You figured you had to harvest all the dendrobium before winter. If you came across wild herbs like fleeceflower root, you could sell those too. And if you stumbled on a sick deer, got some antlers or deer penis, that would be a real jackpot. Seeing it was still early, the 2 brothers talked it over and went to find Wang Xuanju. Wang Xuanju, as village chief, had power worth 50,000 back in those days. You gave him a pack of Qianmen cigarettes and slipped him $1. Smoothly got the permit to buy bricks. With the permit in hand, went straight to the commune's brick factory and ordered the bricks for the house. Zhao Jinxing was baffled. How many bricks is this going to take? How thick are you planning to build the wall, Lao Si? Why are you nailing on so many bricks? You gotta tell him you want 2 stories. Zhao Jinxing, watching you pull out 2 big unity bills. Without even blinking, you handed them to the brick factory boss Zhao Jinxing. His heart ached so bad he winced. Then he heard you say the rest of the money would be paid once the bricks were delivered home. Zhao Jinxing's eyes nearly popped out. He thought this was just unbelievable. That was a big unity bill, not toilet paper. Just casually stuffed in your pocket like that. Not even afraid of losing it. Zhao Jinxing realized that his gambling addict fourth brother had quite the air of authority in front of strangers now. Standing there like he was more of a leader than the brick factory manager. Commanding respect without even trying. If you put him in a blue cloth jacket without patches and said he was some big shot son, people would believe it, if it weren't for the mole still on his neck and the knife scar from his old fighting days. Zhao Jinxing would have wondered if his fourth brother had been swapped out. On the way home, Zhao Jinxing was floating, dizzy. Lao Si was the same as always, but something felt off. When they were almost home, you pulled 5 big unity bills from your shirt pocket and handed them over. "Big brother, aside from the wood, I'll trouble you to help arrange the rest of the materials." Zhao Jinxing reached out to take them, then felt his hands were a bit dirty. So he wiped them on the hem of his clothes before taking the money. He carefully tucked the cash into the pocket pressed against his body. Afraid he might lose it by accident, Zhao Jinxing said to you sincerely, "With this much money, you trust me? Big brother will definitely get this done right for you." You nodded. "My own big brother, how could I not trust you? If it weren't for you and sister-in-law looking out for me. With the way my wife suffered in the past life, our daughter might not have even been born. Would have been lost because of my own mess." At the Zhao family's main house, Zhou Yao was tidying up the things you bought. She pulled a scarf out of the cabinet and carefully draped it over the TV, afraid of getting a speck of dust on it, dirtying the TV. He'd ask why buy this thing anyway. The village lost power every now and then. Plus you had to set up an antenna. When there was no signal, the screen was nothing but static. But seeing how excited you were, she couldn't bring herself to complain about you wasting money. She noticed you bought more stuff for her and your daughter. Sweaters, pants, leather shoes, and a few outfits for the little girl. The coat you got her last time you went to town. She hadn't even worn it yet, couldn't bear to put it on. And now you bought her all these clothes. But seeing that you cared about the 2 of them, Zhou Yao was still happy. She picked up the light, thick quilt, about to put it in the trunk. Couldn't stop the tears from falling. This was even better than the 10 new cotton quilts she got when she married in. Good. Once everything was packed, Zhou Yao realized this guy hadn't bought anything for himself. But his own shirt was all patches on patches. And his patched shoes even had a hole in them. Li Tiantian was helping hold the little girl, gawking at the new clothes, scratching her head restlessly, like a cat eyeing fish. That V-neck sweater was the trendiest style in the city. She wanted to buy one when she went to the mall, but her parents wouldn't let her, spending half a month's salary on a sweater, seeing something she wanted but couldn't afford. And here it was more than one. Li Tiantian was so jealous she could spit. Zhou Yao, her man was handsome as could be, and he really splurged on his wife. Plus he knew how to take care of her. When moving stuff he wouldn't let her lift a finger. Afraid she'd tire herself out, cherished her like the apple of his eye. How could the village spread rumors that such a good husband was a gambling bum? Pure nonsense. You strode in from outside, and as soon as you stepped in you saw a strange young woman, holding a child, standing there smiling at your wife. This is your friend, Li Tiantian. After catching your gaze, her eyes dropped slightly, afraid to meet your eyes. Although she prided herself as a city girl and always looked down on these country folks. Ever since this man came back dusty on the tractor, she'd been standing right there the whole time. But in her eyes and mind, only sister-in-law was standing there as a living person. He hadn't even glanced at her once from start to finish. Zhou Yao was busy with the work at hand. When she heard you ask that, she finally snapped out of it. There was an extra person in the house. That female educated youth had been silent the whole time, and she herself had been so focused on tidying up the things you bought, that she'd completely forgotten about her. Zhou Yao quickly apologized, took the child from Li Tiantian's arms, and said to you, "This is the village chief's sent-down youth. She said she wants to temporarily stay at our place. What do you think, should we clean up the west room and make some space for her to stay?" Her tone carried a hint of consultation. Even though you said she's the boss at home, she still didn't dare make the decision herself, afraid of messing up. As soon as you heard an outsider wanted to stay, your brow unconsciously furrowed slightly. You didn't want some stranger to mess up the cozy life you and your wife had. But when you saw the hopeful look in your wife's eyes, the words of refusal just wouldn't come out. Afraid she'd think you were giving in to her, you stayed quiet. First pulled your wife into the inner room, took off your outer jacket, then pulled out the money from selling the stone crop from the hidden pocket and handed it to her. Then you took the child from Zhou Yao's arms to play with it, and told her about your plan to build a new house. Zhou Yao took the money from your hand. Looking at the crisp new bills in her hand, she felt a bit incredulous. After buying so many things, there was still this much money left. 2 stalks of stone crop, 1 polygonum multiflorum, and some deer antler. That roadside stuff is worth that much money. When you brought up the idea of building a house, Zhou Yao quickly put the money away. Under your eager gaze, she carefully hid the money out of sight, then fell into a brief silence. If they didn't build the house, with the money from these 2 times, it would be enough for the 3 of them to live comfortably for several years. A stable and secure life. But if they really built the house, this money would probably be far from enough, and they'd end up deep in debt. Her younger brother from her family had already helped them out a lot these past 2 years. Now he and his wife have a child too. They need to support themselves. How could she still have the nerve to ask for another loan? Zhou Yao was thinking about this. You seemed to read her mind. Suddenly you planted a kiss on her fair cheek. "Honey, about the money. Don't you worry. I've got it covered. You just rest at home. Don't wear yourself out." The sudden soft warmth on her cheek made Zhou Yao's face turn completely red. She shot you a seductive, teasing glare. She shot you a seductive glare and whispered a reminder. "There are people outside. Aren't you embarrassed? Your face is as thick as a fortress wall." You just grinned at Zhou Yao. In your past life you were worth a fortune. You'd been to every kind of scene. With that, you leaned down again, and gently bit her full, rosy lips. Seeing your wife's fair cheeks tinged with pink, your heart melted. You're a mother now. How can you still be so shy? You stopped teasing her, and got back to the main topic, saying that tomorrow your older brother would order the materials. If he doesn't have enough money, and asks you for it, don't forget to give it to him. Zhou Yao nodded silently, but she felt a bit uneasy inside. She remembered what the neighbor had said about your older brother and his wife. Seeing his big brother again made him feel uneasy. You noticed right away that your wife's expression was off. You moved closer to her, pressing your cheek against hers. Asked, "What's wrong? What's on your mind, babe? Don't keep it bottled up." Zhou Yao thought about it but just shook her head. She didn't say anything. Seeing that your wife didn't want to talk, you didn't push it. Over by the main room, Li Tiantian stood, vaguely overhearing Zhou Yao mention that there were other people outside. Her face turned red as a monkey's butt. She tiptoed to the middle of the yard, breathing in the fresh air. For some reason, she stopped her steps toward the village chiefs to swap lodgings. The man of the house didn't seem as bad as the villagers made him out to be. Just now, when the young wife was organizing the stuff, she was standing there holding the kid. She saw everything clearly. Most of those things were household items, plus clothes for the kid and the young wife. But there was nothing for the man. As Li Tiantian stood in the yard spacing out, the little girl you were rocking had already fallen asleep sweetly. Her delicate, doll-like face was peaceful. You turned around, gently placed the sleeping little princess on the bed, carefully pulled the covers up. Then Zhou Yao came out of the room. She said to Li Tiantian, "You'll have to rough it tonight. Just make do for now. The west room is piled up with a lot of stuff. Your big brother might not be able to clean it all out at once." Li Tiantian heard Zhou Yao's words, turned her head, saw her flushed cheeks, couldn't help thinking about the rude conversation she'd overheard between the couple. Her face burned. She quickly looked away. "No hardship at all. Then I'll be bothering you and big brother," Li Tiantian said quickly. Zhou Yao smiled at Li Tiantian and shook her head. She said, As long as you don't look down on our family for being poor. With that, he bent down to move his daughter's little wooden bed to his east room. You saw it and quickly rushed over to help. Zhou Yao smiled, then turned and went to the west room, also wanting to help clean up, working with his shirt off. You were repeatedly asked by your wife to put on a white tank top. His muscular, well-defined arms were exposed, giving off a hint of aggression. The tank top covered the uneven scratches on his broad back. You had no idea why your wife wanted you to wear the tank top, and just hoisted several bamboo rakes, planning to move them into the yard. You'd barely started working when you saw your wife rolling up her sleeves and coming in. You quickly spoke up to stop her. You don't need to help with this. It's really dusty. You should get out. Go hang out in the yard. As you spoke, you saw Zhou Yao wasn't listening and got anxious. You put down the fence in your hands and pushed her out. Your heart ached for her. The dust was so thick. How could you let her come in to help? If it weren't for the upcoming house construction and the fact that a bunch of men would be coming in and out of the house, you wouldn't have let this female-educated youth stay in the house. But then again, keeping Zhou Yao around had its benefits. When you went up the mountain to hunt or gather dendrobium, she could keep your wife company and relieve her boredom. Li Tiantian saw you push Zhou Yao out, couldn't help covering her mouth, and teased with a laugh. Sister-in-law, big brother really cares about you. Hearing Li Tiantian's words, Zhou Yao's face flushed. She smiled a little shyly, without responding. This man had really changed. As long as she was home, he wouldn't let her touch any chores. He even heated the water for her evening wash, and brought it into the room for her. These past few days, I've really felt like I'm being carefully looked after. It's just too good, to the point that it feels a little unreal. Even Zhou Yao is nervous and uneasy, afraid that your new enthusiasm will wear off, and you'll go back to the way you were before. Keeps her heart in knots every day, living in constant anxiety. His mind is now under extreme tension every day, greedily hoping this good life can last a little longer. So he speaks and acts with extra caution, afraid of making you unhappy. At meals, watching him hand the white flour steamed bun to her, while he wolfed down the coarse-grain bun. He used to complain that coarse-grain buns don't taste good. He was the one who had her make white flour buns too, but once they were made, he didn't take a single bite, left them all for her. Actually, she could eat anything. As long as she can live in peace and stop going out and fooling around, she would be content. Zhou Yao still can't figure it out. How did you suddenly become so good? Before, it wasn't that he hadn't done bad things after getting drunk. After sobering up, he would hug her and apologize, kneeling on the ground and swearing solemn vows. Every time after his drunken tantrum, he would indeed behave a bit better. But that would only last 2 or 3 days, then he'd revert to his old ways, go back out carousing. She had never seen him like these past few days, cooking meals, boiling water, even soothing the child. He even bought complete sets of clothes and shoes for the child. Zhou Yao sees it like a clear mirror, constantly reminding herself to stay sober-minded, not to fall headfirst into this sweet vortex. What if later the dream ends, and reality is different from now? What would she do then? But you don't know about all these twists and turns in your wife's heart. Watching the sky turn dark, you finally cleaned out the west room. That west room, a mud-brick tile house, was always piled with clutter. No one used it. The newspapers on the walls were rotting like spiderwebs, falling apart at the slightest touch, even though it's been cleaned, but there was still a lot of dust inside. You quickly built a small bed out of wooden planks. That pretty much finished the task your wife gave you. Zhou Yao saw you walk out all sweaty. She quickly picked up a towel and handed it to you. Wipe yourself off. Dinner will be ready soon. You didn't reach out to take it. Your tall, lean body bent down slightly. You brought your strong, handsome face close to your wife's, your breath hot against her skin. You said, "Wife, will you wipe it for me?" Hearing what you said, Zhou Yao instinctively glanced at Li Tiantian, who was carrying things into the house. Once she went inside, she stood on her tiptoes and reached up to wipe the sweat off your forehead. She also reminded you, there's a guest in the house. From now on, when you get up in the morning to use the bathroom, don't walk around shirtless in just your shorts. You'll make the young lady embarrassed. Your dark, piercing eyes stared at your wife, who was so close. Seeing how carefully she wiped, and how she reminded you of these little things, your heart felt warm. Even though it felt a bit off not being able to be shirtless in your own home, a little awkward. Looking at your wife's serious expression, you curled your lips. You gave Zhou Yao's rosy lips a quick, light peck. Then you readily agreed. Whatever you say. Zhou Yao, caught off guard by this sudden intimate gesture, turned red from her ears to her cheeks. If it were just the two of you at home, it would be one thing. But now there was an unmarried young woman in the house. Really, no shame at all. Face flushed, Zhou Yao said to you, "Stop dawdling. Go wash your hands and eat." Then she turned and went into the kitchen. You watched your wife's retreating figure, almost fleeing. You grinned. A satisfied smile spread across your handsome face. You walked over to the well, pulled up a bucket of cold water, splashed and washed your face. You were drenched in sweat. Your body felt all sticky. Feels awful. You look around. You're alone in the yard, so you pull off your tank top. Then you pour the bucket of cold water straight over your head. So refreshing. Unexpectedly, Li Tian just walks out of the house and sees this scene. She watches the bare-armed man. His back is to her, revealing his sturdy physique. Well-proportioned muscles. Sharp lines, with a few scratch marks on them. Li Tiantian's cheeks burn as she watches. Embarrassed, she turns and goes back inside. This mud-brick house isn't soundproof. It's pitch black and dusty everywhere. Li Tian can't stand living here even one more day. Zhou Yao hears the splashing water. She walks out carrying dishes. At a glance, she sees you with your bare chest, your body all wet, like you just fished yourself out of water. Suddenly, anger flares up in her heart. She sets the dishes on the stone table in the yard, comes over, grabs your arm, and pulls you toward the house. While pulling, she keeps complaining. In such cold weather, what if you get sick? You let your wife pull you inside. Listening to her complaints, your heart feels warm. Knowing she genuinely worries about you, you step into the inner room. Zhou Yao picks up a small blanket for the child, stands on tiptoes, carefully wipes the water from your head. She's so focused she doesn't even blink, still scolding you under her breath. Hurry up and lower your head, completely unaware that you're grinning like an idiot while staring at her. Hearing your wife's words, you quickly spread your legs, obediently lower your head, and let her wipe you. Wife, wear your new clothes tomorrow, okay? I want to see you in them. As soon as these words are out, Zhou Yao's hands pause slightly, and she doesn't say anything. Seeing that your hair is mostly dry, she goes around behind you and wipes the water off your back inch by inch. Looking at the marks on his back, her face flushed without warning. She had never been like this before. Thinking about all this, Zhou Yao's heart started racing. She tossed the small blanket into your arms, said you can wipe the front yourself. After you're clean, put your pants on and come out to eat. Zhou Yao pushed aside the cloth curtain and came out, and ran right into you coming out of the west room. They exchanged a smile. A tacit understanding, neither spoke. The 3 mud-brick rooms were barely the size of a palm. What was said in the east room could be heard clearly in the west room. Li Tian didn't know whether to sit or stand, feeling extremely uncomfortable. If this was nighttime, she would feel like she was being roasted over a fire. You changed into a pair of pants, and threw on a gray shirt, strode out with big steps. You sat down on the stone block next to your wife, glanced at the stone table. The scrambled eggs from this morning were almost untouched. 8 pieces of meat, not a single one missing. You frowned and looked at your wife. You didn't eat breakfast. Zhou Yao had just picked up her chopsticks, looked up and saw you, with a dark face and furrowed brows. Her heart clenched suddenly. Her hand trembled. The chopsticks clattered to the ground. She instantly collapsed, his true colors showing so soon. She had thought this time he might last a little longer. The dream ended too quickly. She set down the other chopstick, averted her gaze from you, took a deep breath, ate half a steamed bun and 2 pieces of egg. Her voice calm, but her hand gripped her worn-out coat tightly, shaking all over. The sound of chopsticks hitting the floor snapped you back to reality. Sensing something was wrong, you looked closer. Zhou Yao's eyes were red and wet, like letters drenched by rain. Your heart tightened. You panicked instantly. You were just worried about her. Couldn't bear to eat it yourself. Never thought your tone would come off so harsh. It scared her. You reached out to hold her, but she pulled away. You panicked even more. A guy over 6 feet tall crouched in front of his wife. Terrified look on his face. Wife, I was just a little anxious. Really didn't mean to snap at you. Your voice softened. Zhou Yao couldn't hold back her grievance anymore. Tears fell in drops. She had been really scared just now. Thought you'd turn back into that bad-tempered monster who hits people. Your heart ached like hell. You scooped her up in your arms, hurried into the east room. Li Tian had just sat down on the stone bench, looking completely confused. What the hell just happened? She was the only one left in the yard now. Inside the room, you looked at the person in your arms with a sore heart. Her eyes were red from crying. The tip of her delicate nose was flushed. Felt like a knife twisting in your chest. You lowered your head and kissed her eyelids. You whispered softly, I'm sorry, wife. I really messed up. I was just afraid you wouldn't eat it yourself. Got anxious and snapped at you. I'm busy outside all day. Can't always watch you eat. Got stressed in the moment. My tone came out harsh. Zhou Yao gradually felt a bit better. Also felt she might have overreacted. Lately, he'd been spoiling and protecting her. She'd gotten a little spoiled. Now that everything was out in the open, she felt even more embarrassed. Her pale fingers gripped tightly, clutching the shirt on his chest. Her eyes lowered slightly, biting her lower lip. Not a word. Then, out of nowhere, you said, Wife, what's wrong with you? Following where he pointed, Zhou Yao finally noticed she was probably leaking milk. Before he could even respond, thinking about the crucian carp and tofu soup and venison she'd been making lately, she asked if their daughter had been getting enough to eat. Zhou Yao's fair face flushed bright red, like a ripe persimmon. She pulled away from him, turning her back to you. Get out first, her voice trembling. These past few days, I've been drinking crucian carp soup every day. I don't know if it's actually working, but these last 2 days the baby's been breastfeeding. No more formula. Even so, my milk supply is still too much. It aches during the day, and last night that shameless man even helped himself a bit, so today it's not as bad. But I'm still leaking. Her face burning red. She lowered her head to unbutton her shirt, completely unaware that you were staring straight at her. He watched eagerly, eyes glued to Zhou Yao as she just slipped off her outer layer, and only then did she realize that shameless man was staring at her. She was instantly flustered and angry. What are you doing? Get out. I need to fix my clothes. You had no intention of leaving. Instead, you leaned in closer. Wife, the kid's asleep. You're hurting being all swollen like that. Let me handle it. Zhou Yao sat on the stone bench outside, propping her chin on one hand. It was already dark. The stars and moon had come out, and the couple still hadn't come out. She didn't dare barge in to check, so she just waited it out. After a long while, the two came out of the room. Zhou Yao noticed the young wife's eyes were moist. Her cheeks flushed crimson. Her lips a vivid, enticing red. She's been comforted, right? Zhou Yao saw Li Tiantian staring at her. Thinking about what just happened, her face burned. She sat down, picked up chopsticks, and handed them to Li Tiantian. Eat. Then she took another pair and handed them to the man beside her. After you sat down, you didn't give Li Tiantian a single piece of fish the whole time. Instead, you picked up a fine flour bun and placed it in your wife's hand. You grabbed a coarse grain bun for yourself and took big bites. In your mind, you were thinking of finding time to go to the reservoir. Catch some crucian carp to nourish your wife. Zhou Yao had no idea what the man was thinking. She was worried that Li Tiantian felt uncomfortable. She handed over a fine flour bun. Eat. Don't be shy. Make yourself at home. Li Tiantian took a small bite. She was wondering to herself, is this family poor or rich? If you say poor, they eat fine flour buns, and the dishes are scrambled eggs and meat. Even in the city, the standard is not lacking. In the morning, the village chief's family ate black corn buns with pickled radish. If you say rich, they live in 3 rooms of adobe house. Apart from the TV bought today, there isn't even a decent piece of furniture. The bed she slept on was just a few planks thrown together. When he made the bed, he was afraid she'd turn over at night, and the bed would collapse. Right, during the day she heard him tell the tractor driver that he wanted to build a house. So wouldn't this old house be demolished? Then there would be no place to live. Then why did he want to keep her? It was obvious. This big brother's eyes, besides his little wife, couldn't tolerate anyone else. He clearly didn't like her staying. She was lost in these wild thoughts. When a child's cry came from the room, the next second you stood up and told Zhou Yao to keep eating. You strode into the room, turned on the light, picked up your daughter who had woken up in the crib. Zhou Yao put down her chopsticks. She reached out to take the baby. You avoided her. You eat first. I'm not hungry yet. Eat later. Of course, Zhou Yao knew he was only saying he wasn't hungry so she would eat first. Coming back from outside, and then busy cleaning up the mess. How could he not be hungry? But she didn't call him out on it. She picked up her chopsticks and kept eating. Li Tiantian kept her eyes down, taking small bites of her steamed bun. Out of the corner of her eye, she secretly studied how the couple interacted, and couldn't help comparing it to her own family. When her 2 older brothers came home from work, they hardly ever took care of the kids. When the children cried, it was always the sisters-in-law who soothed them first, holding a baby in one arm, while struggling to eat with the other. But this big brother here was walking around the yard with the kid in his arms, comforting her. She found it hard to believe. Zhou Yao ate quickly. She took the child from the man's arms and went back inside. As soon as she left, Li Tiantian sneaked a glance at the young man across from her. She saw him wolfing down his steamed bun and grabbing eggs to eat. His handsome face showed no expression at all, giving off a cold, distant vibe. It was a completely different face from when his wife was around. Li Tiantian felt a little creeped out. She sat there, restless and uneasy. Stammering, she said, "Big brother, I'm full." He cleared the dishes, carried them into the kitchen, washed them quickly and went back to the west room, not daring to come out again. It was completely dark. You sat alone in the yard, eating the remaining 4 coarse grain buns, and drinking the noodle soup until you were full. Then you heated a pot of water, carried the basin to the room, and said, "Wife, remember to wipe yourself down. I'm going to the outhouse." You set the basin on the stand and walked out. Zhou Yao closed the door, took off her clothes, and bathed with the hot water. As soon as she finished and dressed, she vaguely heard some noise from behind the house. She thought she misheard. The next second, a man's voice came from outside. "Hey there, little sister. Are you taking a shower?" Zhou Yao's hair stood on end. She screamed loudly. You outside the house had just pulled up your pants. Hearing the scream, you quickly walked out and caught her head on. The person who threw herself into your arms. You held her tight, looking down, asked what's wrong. Zhou Yao wrapped her arms tightly around your waist. After steadying herself, someone was just here. You lifted your dark eyes and looked over the yard wall. Sure enough, you saw a head hurriedly running away. In an instant, your deep eyes filled with chilling resentment. You withdrew your gaze, looking at the person in your arms wearing only underwear. You picked her up by the waist and laid her on the bed. Coming out of the bedroom, you rushed out and told Li Tiantian, standing at the door of the west room. "Keep an eye on her for me. I'm going out." You didn't say anything more. Strode out of the yard with your long legs. Your tall, straight figure disappeared into the night. At Air Lizy's house at the east end of the village, the neighbors heard Air Lizy's miserable screams and the dull thud of fists hitting flesh. It made their hearts tremble. They all knew you were a reckless bastard, a real hardcore guy at heart. They didn't know what Air Lizy did to provoke you, but from the sounds of it, you were going at him hard. They were really afraid he'd be beaten to death. Brother, for I was wrong. I was just going to see the educated youth Li Tiantian, but I really didn't see anything. Hearing Air Lizy beg for mercy, you directly dislocated his jaw. "What the hell are you spouting? Aren't you craving meat? Go eat some meat, then." "Fourth brother, I was wrong." Air Lizy didn't even have the strength to get up and kneel. He was truly afraid you'd beat him to death. For a moment, you really wanted to cripple him. But thinking of Zhou Yao and your daughter, you didn't hit as hard. Zhou Yao lay in bed. She didn't know how long had passed. When she heard the sound of water splashing in the yard, she knew you were back, taking a cold shower. After more than 10 minutes, she heard the door open and close. In the darkness, you thought she was asleep. You lightened your steps as you entered the house, just about to feel your way to bed in the dark. A voice came from the bed. "You're back." Zhou Yao reached out and turned on the light. The room lit up. You stopped moving. You saw the person in bed propping up her head with one hand. Her raven-black hair spread over her snow-white shoulders and neck. Your eyes darkened. You stepped onto the bed. Lifting your hand, you turned off the light. In the darkness, you pulled her close. Her waist without an ounce of fat. You patted her back. "It's okay. Go to sleep, wife." Before you came back, she didn't dare sleep. Afraid you might hit too hard and beat him to death. Also afraid of gossip in the village. He was terrified. Like a kitten, he curled up in your arms. His cheek pressed against your sturdy, burning chest. Listening to your strong, powerful heartbeat, he gradually stopped sobbing. He didn't dare cry loudly. Afraid of waking up his daughter. Seeing your wife like this, you only felt you hadn't hit him hard enough. Originally, with your reputation, the village punks wouldn't dare. You never thought anyone would still have dirty ideas. But after today, those who had designs should stop. Seeing the tired look on the man's face, thinking about how he'd been leaving early and coming back late, digging up dendrobium to sell, and giving the money to her, protecting her, coaxing her. He really had changed. In the darkness, Zhou Yao cried herself out and dozed off half asleep. Hearing the steady breathing of the person beside her, she finally felt relieved. The next day, Zhou Yao was woken from her sleep by voices outside. In the yard, Sister Zhao added a big handful of sugar to the boiled water and poured water for each of the workers. Sugar was a rare commodity in those days. Normally no family would be willing to buy it. Chao Fengjie drank a bowl of sugar water and sidled up to Sister Zhao, asking in a low voice, "Sister-in-law, how come I seem to hear your sister-in-law raising a ruckus at home yesterday?" Sister Zhao put down the kettle, looking at the nosy Chao Fengjie. "Your place is 2 li away from Xiao Xi's house. How could you have heard anything? Are you so bored at night that you crouch under the window of the young couple to eavesdrop?" Chao Fengjie chuckled and didn't reply. "Thinking about last night, I heard you beat that rascal Air Lizy from the East End half to death and broke one of his legs. Just so happens this city wife is causing trouble. Figuring she must have been cheating on you, he couldn't resist wanting to gossip about it." Sister Zhao couldn't be bothered with him and carried the kettle to pour water for others. Coming to your side, she gave you a wink and said softly, "Go check on Zhou Yao." Normally she would have woken up by now. Don't let her get scared sick. You who were moving bricks stopped your work. When you got up in the morning, she was still sleeping. It's already 10 o'clock now. You lifted the curtain and entered the bedroom. As you opened the door and came in, Zhou Yao woke up. You instinctively pulled her into your arms. You turned your head to the person in your arms and said, "Since you're awake, go ahead and change your clothes first. I'll bring the food in for you in a bit." Your voice was a little hoarse. The curtains were still drawn, and it was noisy outside. Zhou Yao couldn't help asking, "What's all that racket in the yard?" They're fixing up the courtyard wall. It's a mess, honey. Don't come out just yet. I've still got things to do outside. Then why don't you let go? I'll hold you a little longer. You answered with a smile. Not only did you not loosen your grip, you pulled her even tighter. You said to him, give me a kiss, and I'll let go. Flip your hand over. Stop messing around. Let go now. There are people outside. I'm not messing around. You're my wife. I'm asking you to kiss me, and you won't even do that. Don't you like me? Your tone carried a hint of aggrieved fierceness. Zhou Yao wanted to explain, but in the end she said nothing. She leaned in and gently pecked your cheek. There. Now let go. After she kissed you, your beautiful eyes lit up. Happily, you cupped her face and kissed her. Honey, I really like you. Let go now. There really are people outside. I'll be bored just sitting in the room. I want to go out and help. Without a second thought, you flatly refused. If you're bored, I'll have sister-in-law come in and chat with you for a bit. Zhou Yao knew there was no chance of going out to help. Seeing that you couldn't manage to leave the doorway, she went back to the bedroom out of boredom. To play with your daughter. Because there were a lot of people helping. The courtyard wall was built to 2 meters high by around 4 in the afternoon. And the top was covered with broken glass. Without a ladder to help, it's hard for most people to climb over a 2-meter wall, especially with broken glass on top. Building the courtyard wall first when constructing a house. That was a first. Behind your house. Chao Fengjie's brother laughed. Last night I went out to use the bathroom and saw Lengzi sneaking out of Zhou Yao's room. I bet they already did it. No way. If it's true. Zhou Yao is way too eager. Zhang Hongxia exclaimed. The two of them whispered back and forth, winking and raising their eyebrows. Their eyes toward Zhou Yao were full of contempt. And you, who had been watching them the whole time, also caught every single word he said. Those two broads deserve a beating, their own brother-in-law. Those two daughters-in-law turned out to be this kind of trash. They said they came to help, but they really just came for free sugary water. Did you see that? Chao Fengjie even brought a tea jar, and her pant pockets were bulging. Looks like she stuffed a bunch of snacks meant for the helpers. You're thinking about how to deal with them. Chao Fengjie and Zhang Hongxia need to be handled all at once. To avoid any more trouble. After dinner, you staggered over to your uncle Wang Dashan's house. Wang Dashan and his 2 sons hadn't split up their household. They all lived together. When you arrived, the Wang family was eating dinner. Seeing you show up, everyone was pretty surprised. Zhaokuan, have you eaten yet? Lu Shuqin shoveled a mouthful of rice in. Saw you heading her way, and didn't think much of it. You walked right up to Chao Fengjie, and grabbed her by the hair. That move shocked everyone there. Along with Chao Fengjie's scream, they all snapped out of it one by one. Wang he stood up abruptly. Zhaokuan, what the hell is wrong with you? You sneered coldly. What's wrong with me? Ask your wife. Chao Feng hadn't expected this at all. That the news would reach your ears so fast. That he'd be here so soon. You started listing off Chao Feng's faults, Lu Shuqin. And Wang Dashan's face went dark after hearing it. Is this the kind of daughter-in-law they brought home? She's a curse. They were always afraid their son would pick up bad habits from this Zhaokuan. Told him over and over to stay away. And this woman still dares to start rumors about them. Chao Feng cursed you under her breath, calling you a piece of garbage. But she couldn't find the words to explain. Zhang Hongxia stood up. Is there some kind of misunderstanding here? Zhaokuan, let go first. Chao Feng is still your cousin-in-law. Zhang Hongxia, you're no damn good either. Sit your ass down. See, birds of a feather. Zhang Hongxia was a bit embarrassed. She looked at her husband. Wang Yong kept quiet. Clearly didn't want to get involved in this mess. You raised your hand and slapped Chao Feng across the face. I'll teach you to run your mouth. I'll slap that mouth of yours off. Chao Feng was stunned by the slap. She never thought you'd dare, and none of the Wang family stopped you either. You slapped Chao Feng 6 times before stopping. Then let go of her. Chao Feng saw stars. Could barely stand. Stumbled and fell onto Wang He. Only to be shoved away hard by her own husband. Wang Dashan said slowly, you deserved that beating, serves you right. Chao Feng. What, are you brain dead? Or can't stand seeing Zhaokuan and his wife doing well? How dare you spread such lies? Obviously trying to stir up trouble. I didn't say those things. No one felt sorry for her even after she was hit. Other than stubbornly denying it, Chao Feng had no way out. You didn't say those words. Do you dare to swear? Chao Fengjie is way too green. He's no match for the sly old fox you're dealing with. If you're lying, drop dead. May your whole family, your parents, die horribly. May your kids die horribly. That shut Chao Fengjie up good. He had a guilty conscience. Stammering. And unable to speak. Everyone saw what was really going on. They all understood clearly. Your eyes were weird. Only then did Zhou Yao dare to believe it. God knows he'd barely even breathed a moment ago. Terrified this guy would flip. Seeing his wife's breathing slowly calm down, you finally relaxed. Looks like every night from now on, you need to have a heart-to-heart with your wife. You wanted to take your wife to town to clear her head. But you knew she'd definitely be against it. Because she was afraid that once in town, if you turned your back, you'd sell your daughter. But you figured this time it'd be better to take your wife out for some air. Wife, wanna go for a walk at the foot of the mountain with me? I'll catch a quail and we'll have a treat. Zhou Yao kinda wanted to go. It wasn't that she had a craving, or wanted quail. It was just that lately this man wouldn't let her go to the fields to earn work points. He told her to stay home and get her health back, just take care of the kid. She'd gone back to work the day after giving birth. Back then she didn't care about herself. Now he's the one doting on her. She didn't know what favor she'd done Wang Xuanzhu. Neither of the two laborers in the house went to the fields, and Wang Xuanzhu didn't come to push them. Seeing his wife was obviously tempted, but still hesitating, her eyes darting uncertainly over the people in the yard. He knew she was worried that if they left, their things at home wouldn't be safe. You laughed out loud. It's fine. Just wait, let me finish. Carrying the kid, you walked out of the kitchen. She didn't know what you said to them. All the people in the main room came out. You even kicked Li Tiantian out. Li Tiantian actually wanted to follow the family of 3 to the foot of the mountain. She heard there were tigers on the mountain. None of their sent-down youth group dared to go near, but seeing that they weren't welcome, she had to wander aimlessly around the village. On the way, you noticed your wife kept glancing at you like she wanted to say something. You stopped in your tracks, and looked at him with full expectation. Zhou Yao finally worked up the nerve and said, Zhaokuan, can I go back to my parents' place tomorrow? That's it. I'll go back with you tomorrow. After being married for so long, the man beside her finally started acting like a real person, knew how to earn money to support the family, and take care of his wife and daughter. Zhou Yao wanted to go back to her family home, to put her mother's mind at ease, so she wouldn't keep worrying that her daughter had married poorly. You thought after all that mental preparation your wife had been building up to something huge, but it turned out to be just this. You hold your daughter with one arm,